After leaving San Jose, we take the Y's east leg. We see the train cross over Santa Clara Street. Long ago, the electric Peninsular Railway crossed under this overpass. About 15 miles from the San Jose yard is Irvington. At one time, Irvington had a small SP depot, but the structure was sold off to become a lumber dealer's building. The SP line in red races closely alongside the Niles to San Jose Western Pacific branch line. While this train runs toward Niles Junction, we'll see that relationship better. Just to the south of SP's Oakland Mole Yard is the smaller Western Pacific Yard in green. Both the red SP and the green WP lines ran in parallel down to Niles Junction. The WP line in green ran from their yard down the middle of 3rd Street to where we are now standing in front of the WP station. This is while a WP fan trip train is approaching. The 482 Mountain was one of 10 Alco-built locomotives sold used to the WP. This excursion will run up through Niles Canyon and Altamont Pass, where the SP and WP tracks ran next to each other. This is passing by the Niles passenger station on the WP line. Next, we cross over the SP's line down to San Jose to see the old interlocking tower. Running through Niles Canyon, we find 2 tunnels. The SP was the first railroad through here by 1870, so they got the best path without needing tunnels. Even so, the SP had a lot of curves, bridges, and retaining walls to make it work. The second line through here, built by WP, was even more work, with crews experiencing difficulty finishing the line that finally got trains into Oakland. WP became the second line into Oakland, which suggests that they didn't have the best of alignment choices here. So after an easier time of it running through Pleasanton and Livermore, the excursion gave way to several stops to allow for some dramatic and smoky run-bys for the fans with cameras. So we'll end the WP ride here at Redmond Cut in Altamont Pass and return to Niles and pick up on the SP 2475 excursion train we left back on the Milpitas line at Irvington. This is the SP Niles station, and this is looking to the east. Here's how the SP and WP tracks in Niles related to each other, straddling Alameda Creek, with both heading off to Niles Canyon by their separate tracks. This excursion was about to run through SP territory that had no regular passenger service here for decades, just freight. SP's line through here was first built by an upstart road named Western Pacific Railroad. It was never finished, but it was bought by what would become the Southern Pacific that we come to know. So the Western Pacific line is the second Western Pacific line through here. We'll follow this line now. After Niles Canyon, we picked the train back up in what looks like Livermore, known for the Lawrence Livermore Radiation Laboratory. This SP line was abandoned, and the only section left is operated by the Niles Canyon Railway from Niles to Sunnel. The remaining old WP line is intact and used for the contemporary Altamont Corridor Express commuter trains between San Jose and Stockton, California. You can just make out the paralleling WP track behind the grain storage building. We have reached the SP location with the depot. There was a sizable railroad community up here. When we pass by a number of structures that housed workers, we'll see a small black water tower that was for employee drinking water here. The accommodations varied with seniority, and probably how many children were a factor. After Altamont Pass, the trip finally reached Tracy, that was a regional hub for the SP. You wouldn't see much left if visiting here today, just a little bit of remaining track. While 2475 was being serviced and turned around, the passengers got to mill around for a bit and stretch their legs before the return trip home. Niles once had a turntable, a roundhouse, and all the elements to service steam power. This man is on top of a tender refilling the water tank. After 2475 was serviced, it ran back to its train. When the switch was thrown, it ran back to its waiting train to continue the fan trip. Let's take a long look at the SP traffic on the peninsula long ago. The SP ran commuter trains, known locally as the commutes, that ran between the north tip of San Francisco's peninsula down to San Jose, until finally selling it off to the Joint Powers Board in the 1980s. It was almost 47 miles long, with fast running, and during peak hours trains were spaced with only a few minutes of separation. This is the old San Francisco station, with its large and complex yard to store and accommodate the busy train schedule. The 3rd and Townsend station was close to the ferry building and the old Trans-Bay Terminal that brought electric trains from the lower deck of the Bay Bridge into a large terminal. Here in the mid-1950s, a 462 Pacific, built in the 1920s, backs into a string of bi-level coaches in preparation for a run. The train number indicator boards don't have the train number posted yet. That task was generally left to the firemen. A train beginning its run down to San Jose is pulled by a 462 Pacific. These were fast locomotives if they weren't burdened with overly heavy trains. Commute train numbers were even for trains running compass south, and odd numbers for trains running compass north. This train pulling in has a railway post office car as the first car. Mail was handled on this peninsula run on some trains. It looks like this is a photo day for a fan club. Notice how people were largely allowed to mill around here. They were responsible for their own well-being in those days. This is a bit south where the old Crosley television factory was located back when nearly all the TVs were made in the U.S. This is a fan trip extra train. Our first commute train is at Bayshore. This was all landfill to reroute some of the main line that originally went through Daly City. It was a massive project completed by 1907 that gave a better mainline route and double tracking, plus a large freight yard was here as well. Diesels had replaced all the steam by 1958, giving a new look. This is the trackside view of the original station, built in 1915. The old station and the covered platforms will all be torn down by 1975. These views were taken from above on the 6th Street ramp when the 3rd and Townsend station was still there, but the new 4th and Townsend station construction seems almost complete. The end of the long-distance passenger trains accommodated here came in 1971. Only the shorter commute trains would continue. The old interlocking tower is gone and a replacement tower is now in place. These old Harriman-style suburban coaches were kept clean inside, and many had better exterior paint than these examples. But by the mid-1950s, they lost their appeal to someone commuting in a nice suit and sporting a stylish briefcase. SP had Pullman supply 10 bi-level cars in 1955. By 1957, SP had ACF build 21 of their version. This car was an ACF, or American Car and Foundry, built car. These gallery bi-level cars had upper and lower seating, and they were longer than the old 1920s cars. 10 years after the first bi-level cars, we find a train with mixed, standard, and taller bi-level cars. We see a commuter in a nice suit and a briefcase, the very rider they wanted to please. We'll take a journey south, starting here. Notice the giant natural gas tank above the tunnel to the left. A little further, and we find a long, tall berm at Quint Street, an area with mixed industries. A GP9 has bi-level cars painted in the Lark passenger train two-tone gray colors. Unlike the old suburban cars with windows that could be opened, these bi-level cars had air conditioning since the windows were sealed shut. This is the face of the Fairbanks Morris Trainmaster. They were unusual and perfectly suited for this job that required lots of horsepower and that could build train speed very quickly. The left of the screen reveals that giant natural gas tank we saw over Tunnel Number 2's portal. Another Trainmaster-powered train heads toward Tunnel Number 3. This Fairbanks Morris switcher is following into Tunnel Number 3. This train number 130 just popped out of Number 3's south portal. This is about 5:10 p.m., the rush hour. To the left is a siding at Macy's department store warehouse. Around the bend is Paul Avenue with the station stop. It's not much more than a rain shelter. The south portal of tunnel number 4 brings Bayshore. Bayshore was all built on a massive landfill project that projected into the San Francisco Bay to give SP trains a shorter run with double tracks. The yard here included an interlocking tower of standard SP design. There was a time when this body of water wasn't a lagoon, it was just a cove of the actual San Francisco Bay. The causeway built for the 101 freeway created this lagoon. This 1955 scene was shot before the causeway for the 101 freeway was built by 1957. We will see the sequence of commute trains in order up to train 140, heading into the old Tunnel 5. Some of these scenes are during the causeway building. You can see piles of new ties and some land clearing back where the line poles are on the screen. This was to straighten the curve in the SP tracks and eliminate Tunnel 5. Train 134 has 10 coaches. It left 3rd and Townsend at 5:20 p.m. and will end up in San Jose at 6:25 p.m. It skips all the stops until Redwood City on the way. Train 136 left 3rd and Townsend at 5:23 p.m. with only 3 minutes headway. Its first stop was at Hillsdale on its way to San Jose. In these earlier scenes of August 1956, the causeway is visible as fill dirt ready for pavement. The 101's causeway would be open by July 1957. Here we see trains arcing their way towards South San Francisco. These scenes were filmed standing on top of Tunnel 5's portal. This area was once a wealth of industrial businesses, including steel production. The 3 high-voltage transmission towers and the railroad signal bridge across the track are still here, but most everything else looks nothing like in these scenes. So far, all the station stops only existed after the Bayshore cutoff was created. Train 138 in this era would be at South San Francisco at 4:40 p.m. It would arrive in San Jose by 5:46 p.m. This is the San Bruno station. It was for SP trains, and it once had another pair of tracks nearby that brought a connection to the Muni System streetcar line that also ran through Daly City, basically paralleling the original SP line through Daly City. Technically, it was an interurban line. It was folded into the Muni system from the Market Street Railway merger in 1944. Here are a few scenes of the old double-track Muni 40 line. This is the Muni 40 line station stop and its traffic control tower. Behind the black flatbed truck is the SP station and its tracks. Nearby was a power substation for the 40 line. Now you can see why a crossing guard mans this small tower and the crossing gates. This old iron monster is a two-man car with rear entry and a conductor visible to take your fare. The last 40 line Muni stop was at San Mateo behind the SP station. A loop headed the car back to return to San Francisco. This aging and worn 20-mile-long Muni service ended in 1949. For all the other great scenes, look for our item number D155 and check out all the other great titles as well.